this energy field and circulating vortex that exists around the human form. However, I must say at the beginning of this that this anatomy is not completely correct, that it shows all of these chakras as being centered in one area of the human form, when in truth, as I've said in other lessons, it is clear that they run up the spine and have 7 different points of contact on the body. But in the interest of simplicity and in order to fit it into the graphic layout of this painting, I centered them all in one portion. What is accurate about this image is that it shows the violet chakra and the way that that rotates perpendicular to the other chakras of the body. So we've got all of those guys, and you can see the perpendicular motion creates the gyroscopic stabilization effect. What is implied in this painting is the 7th chakra right up there. That would be the physical chakra of red. And this is technically accurate, which is one reason why I chose to use this image from this painting. The red chakra does indeed extend all the way around the physical form, at least as wide as the arms and at least as high up as they can stretch and stretch out to the other side. I also choose this image because it shows so well how a human form is surrounded by this non-physical energy, and that this non-physical energy, as I have tied in with other lessons, is actually made of time and possibilities. These are all timelines. In order to help you understand the relationship of timelines to the human form, I'm going to start off with one of these basic shapes of the universe, the vortex. So I want you to imagine that this line down here is the starting point of several timelines, and that the timelines get progressively longer and longer and longer until, of course, there's one that is so long that it reaches all the way to infinity. Well, this is exactly what your life is like. If we say that here is age 0, and moving upward, you become, each year moves along, and you can also say that this point, this membrane, this limiting area right here, is actually the membrane of death, because it is along there that any of these timelines that reach up to that point get cut off. And what this actually looks at as this energy is in motion, as energy is always flowing, the time is flowing in this direction. The energy attempts to go up, cannot make it, flows down. Here, let me change colors. The energy attempts to go up, cannot make it, and flows down. So it tries again, cannot make it, flows down. Again, cannot make it, and flows down. And this happens, I want to say, an infinite number of times, a nearly uncountable number of times, until finally, just like playing a video game, the final iteration has been explored, and one reaches the wormhole that is the exit of this level of reality. And so what we are seeing here is energy being continually refined from the broader towards the more specific, until finally it is able to exit. This becomes so fine that it can exit this world and enter into the next dimension, where here we have starting again at 0 and moving up to 1, and this was the exit out of the previous dimension. So this shows the way that these time vortexes are actually stacked up, one on top of the other, all right? And this is the way that your chakras are stacked up, as you can see by this stacking right over here. I'll change it to color so you can see it better. And what you have in relation to the human form is a refinery, where energy in both directions is coming from this broader level of the physical world and is being refined through the emotions, the intellect, the mentality, through the clearinghouse of unconditional love, that is the heart, being translated into a communicative form, being refined to the point of pure understanding, and then finally, we'll use this one right here, being transmitted upward to the higher dimensions. Got it? And this also works in the opposite way down, where information from the higher source comes down and it must be stepped down like electrical transformers. So first it has to go through violet, then it can go through indigo, then it can go through turquoise, then it can go through green, etc. So when I'm drawing these vortexes, first of all, I want to tell you, I know that I draw them like this, but you have to use your mind and your mentality to understand that this is not flat and two-dimensional, and that these timelines don't actually run like this. These timelines actually run around like this, because what you're looking at is a spiraling vortex, much like a waterspout or a tornado. So when I am drawing this four vortex shape, that is it's the shape of the chakras on your body, it is the shape of the electromagnetic energy field surrounding planet Earth, it is the shape of many natural objects. When I draw this shape, I am drawing four time vortexes or vortices, where you can see these timelines that wrap around, and all of these timelines, all of these multiple bundles of possibilities, they all are refined and focus on this area. Let me change color so you can see it better. They all focus in on this area, and I would define that area as the singularity. It is the center of a black hole. Now let me just erase this. Now I want to talk about the super stretchy pantyhose of the universe. So I would like you to imagine that the universe is made up of a sheet of super stretchy pantyhose, and that as a very heavy object is placed on top of it, that pantyhose begins to stretch more and more and more. And the more that it stretches, the higher the vibration of the portion that is stretched. So the lowest vibration, we're talking about red, it's only been stretched a little bit. Then when it gets stretched a little bit more, orange. And we are going to go all the way up the rainbow on this. And if this extremely heavy object were able to just stretch infinity downwards, that would end up being the singularity. So you can also see what I have drawn here is another version of the chakras on the body. What you're looking at when you see this four vortex shape that I'm always drawing and using as a graphic depiction, what you're really seeing is the fabric of the universe. Let's say a basic square like this that has been stretched from all four sides into. So this four vortex shape is created by the stretching of a square of this extremely stretchy material from these four directions. But what we are actually doing is stretching a spherical, extremely stretchy beach ball of the universe from six directions. Here, 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 and here. So when I talk about this extremely stretchy beach ball of the universe, this is the way that we are creating those four vortexes of time that you experience as the rotating chakras on your body. As we are doing this, these areas are dimpling inwards and eventually create the shape. Now, all of this is relevant because remember, you are made up of these bundles of timelines. And as I have spoken about earlier, these timelines are in a process of continual refinement from the more general to the more specific, but that this really continues on instead of infinitely, let us say indefinitely. It just continues onward and onward and onward. So we're talking here about nested timelines and the way that this is continually refining this energy. So what about, let's find a nice good highlight color here, what about this central infinity timeline? This is the timeline with which you want to be associated, because remember, you are this ball of possibilities, and every single one of these timelines radiates outward from the moment that you are currently experiencing. And this timeline is traveling, this ball of possibilities is traveling forward on a timeline, here shown here in a contrasting color, traveling forward on a timeline. This timeline is exactly this right here. Of course, you want to be on the timeline that travels forward, not any of the timelines that reach the edge and then have to go circulating back again. In fact, you could say that's the game of life. When you are traveling along this central timeline, traveling to infinity, the truth is that you are experiencing a frictionless, perfect, perpetual motion machine that, unlike if you were slightly at an angle, you can imagine a tube slightly at an angle and you were traveling on a timeline, that there would be areas of friction here and here that would slow things down. Now I want you to imagine a tube that is perfectly in alignment with the timeline that it is traveling upon. And there is no friction here, no friction here. And in a sense, this tube is able to simply keep traveling onward and onward and onward. Well, that tube is analogous to this lovely, beautiful person that we have right here. And this is the cylinder. And this is the timeline in the center. And the human game and the human goal is to keep this in alignment and travel infinitely in a perfect, entropyless, perpetual motion world.